Hello everyone, this is Strawberry Shorty here with a recap and review of Interview with the Vampire, Episode 7, The Thing Lays Still. So this is the season finale. I don't really know if the Mayfair Witches show is going to end up being connected, because I know that the Mayfair Witch books, start out separate from Interview from the Vampire Chronicles, and then they start to connect later on, so I have no idea if I'll be watching that. I don't think I really like the content in some of the later books. I think it gets really dark. But yeah. So we get the preview, and they show that scene again of Lestat putting the X on the businessman dude's face, and I still don't know what that was supposed to be about. So we start off with, the interview continuing. Rashid serves Louis some food, and he seems a little mad to me. Maybe it's just my imagination. And Daniel keeps kind of looking at him, because he had that dream where Rashid, still looking the same, was there 50 some years ago. When was this interview? I don't remember. Then we cut back to the past, and Lestat is playing with some blood in the glass, and the stuff in the glass looks really weird and thick. And just what is with that? And we see yet another poor victim, and it's just this poor dude is tied up and gagged, and he's basically got a cut on his wrist, and it's pouring into a flask thingy. So basically he's dying slowly and being bled out, and it's just so awful. This person does not deserve that. I mean, I guess I don't really know who he is, so maybe he is a horrible person, but so far that has not seemed to be the case. It did make me start thinking, though, can blood be stored? Could you do this kind of thing and just save all the blood and, drink it later? There's food for thought right there. And Louis not complaining at all. I know that Louis has kind of resolved to join in on the killing humans so they can be a proper family, even though they have not been a proper family for some time now. But even though that's the case, he still shouldn't be okay with the torture. It just kind of brings down his character. And they show some scenes of the group spending time together. And Claudia just looks so ticked off during the part where they're walking together. And then we kind of cut back to the poor dude being slowly killed. And it's Lestat is still so unlikable, because he's tormenting this poor guy while he's dying slowly. And I feel so bad for him. And then some random dude, shows up outside. And I'm thinking, is this supposed to be another vampire? Because he looks terrible. And he's he tries to leave a letter, but they grab him and drag him inside. And Lestat just drains and kills him before they even learn why he was there. And I feel bad for him, too, because turns out the guy was sick, and he hoped to, because people are kind of starting to catch on that there's something up with these people who aren't aging. So this guy was hoping that he could figure out their secret and become like them, so he would survive. And Lestat, spits out the blood, because apparently the blood from cancer people tastes bad. I don't know. But yeah, I feel bad for this guy. And it's how did no one notice sooner that these people aren't, aging? I know there were some vague hints of it in the last episode, people leaving the threats. But I feel the movie was way more realistic here, where, I don't even think that much time passed, but, the slaves on Louis' plantation, because he was a slave owner there, they, started setting the house on fire and, attacking, because it's these guys are demons. Here it's just let's leave a vague threat outside your door and not really do anything. And that just seems really weird to me, especially because, this was a time period where, black people were not well liked, gay people were not well liked, and you have, two black people, one of them is in an interracial relationship with a white man, and they're gay, and it's just I feel there would have been some kind of movement against them realistically, but there wasn't, so it seems a little strange here. And we see another kind of cut back to the interview, and it's very clear that Daniel is still very distracted about Rashid, but he doesn't ask about him at all. Oh, I think I missed a scene. Yeah, there's a brief scene of Claudia and Lestat playing the piano, and they kind of have a scene from the movie, maybe from the book too, where she's being nice-ish, and he's like calling her irritating. And in the movie, this is the scene where Lestat gets killed, but that obviously is not going to happen here because we've all seen the previews. But she ends up proposing that they have like a ball, because they're planning to leave. After the dude leaves the note, they're like, yeah, we should probably get out of here. But yeah, they're talking about leaving, and I think this is when Claudius suggests they have like an elaborate ball or something, like leave with the bang or whatever. Like I said, I'm trying to remember this all from memory because I can't pause this recording, and my notes only say so much. But I think I preferred the movie version where Claudia and Lestat have a semi-decent relationship, and there's like, it felt more genuine. Like it wasn't just Lestat being mean to Claudia and Claudia hating Lestat. Well, it actually was mostly Claudia hating Lestat. She did not like Lestat at all, even in the movie. But they were nice to each other once. Anyway, so then we flash back to the interview, but Daniel still does not ask about Rashid at all. And then we have our three vampires on like a train car, not a train, like one of those streetcar train type things. I don't know what they call them. I think they have them in San Francisco or something. But they're on there, and Louis is trying to get Claudia's plan to murder Lestat, but she doesn't want to share it with him because he loves him too much. And it's like, you just give yourself to him, and I'll pull you back out before you get in too deep, which, yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to do that. And there's this random dude on the train thingy who has balloons, and he leaves, and he's walking, and Claudia, I believe, goes and kills him, because, I don't know, reasons. And I feel bad for this guy, because it's like, looking at those balloons, it's like, he's probably going to like a kid's birthday party or something, and he just gets murdered. I don't think he deserved this. Why this guy? Why random balloon person? And we oh my gosh, I keep getting so mixed up, because I have two different notes here about liking a scene better in the movie. I think I might be talking about the I know one time I'm talking about the not like people noticing scene. Yeah, because I think I ended up getting mixed up. The scene with the piano comes after the balloons, because Louis is decorating the tree and he's wearing a sweater. I guess it's Christmas. I don't know. It doesn't feel Christmassy outside of this one moment. But that's when they have the piano scene. Oh my gosh. Like, I wish I could remember this easier. I long for my normal recording equipment and being able to pause the recording and watch the episode as I record. But yeah, so they're planning to leave. I think leaving is smart. Like, they're slightly not on board, but Lestat's right, they should leave. And they're talking about throwing this ball, and I'm thinking myself, like, who would come to this? Everyone thinks you're, like, evil devil people. And even those that don't want to go to a party thrown by gay men or a black dude. So, but then Louis says exactly what I'm thinking, so at least they're acknowledging it. And Lestat and Claudia basically say that they'll use the whole immortality thing because people have kind of caught on that they're not aging. And it's like, I guess that's fair. Curiosity can be a powerful thing. I do think a lot of people would sign up for that. Honestly, you could probably say you're vampires and people would still go. That Twilight was really popular. But Lestat I feel like Lestat should not be trusting any of this. And they go to the businessman guy. I'd never remember this dude's name. I don't know who he's supposed to be. But I'm pretty sure it's the same guy that Lestat put the X on, so he's apparently still alive, even though it totally seemed like Lestat was going to kill him. And this guy also is like, why would anyone come to this? And, yeah. And there's a lot of, like loud talk in here that should just not be happening. I'm trying to remember why I wrote talking loudly. I remember I was wrote that this guy is doomed, because he's saying stuff he shouldn't be saying. Like, and it's just like, I feel like you're about to be killed. Oh no, I remember now. I keep getting confused. This was when they were at the movies. So they were at the movies, and they're talking, like, Lestat, Claudia, and Louis are talking really, really loudly, like not hushed tones at all, in this small little movie theater. And this dude, like, is totally sensing me, is just like telling them to shush, and they keep talking loudly. And I think that the dude's gonna die. Dude does not actually die. Lestat uses his new hypnotism power to make the guy start smacking himself, and it's a really weird scene. And I'm frankly on the guy's side, because why are you coming to a movie and talking so loud? Like, geez, have some consideration. And yeah, I'm totally thinking like Lestat needs to be more suspicious, but apparently Claudia and Louis are expecting Lestat to be suspicious. And apparently they're planning for this ball thing that they're throwing to be a massacre, which again, Louis is totally fine with. And then Claudia just jumps over the balcony to kill someone because, you know, I guess they're not trying to be secretive anymore. And yeah, we have the that's when they meet with the businessy dude, and I'm just like shocked he's still alive. And meanwhile, he doesn't seem to have aged either. Like, he looks the same age as when we first met him, which, I mean, realistically, he pretty much is, because that's pretty sure that's the same actor. But yeah, he doesn't look older at all, so it's really weird. It was the same thing with the sister, where the sister did not look older to me at all either. And yeah, so they give him a ship to, like, bribe him into, I don't know, some rich people canceling their party and attending Louis and Lestat's party, I don't know. We flash back to the interview, and Rashid is talking on the phone in the sun, and Daniel is staring at him. And it's clear Louis is noticing this, but it kind of seems weird that he doesn't know that Daniel has regained some of his memory. Because, like, he's a vampire, shouldn't that be one of his powers? Is there anything vampires can't do in this universe? So, anyway. Claudia goes to buy some drug, some Lestat killing drug, and she takes a lollipop, and then she throws the lollipop away when she's outside, and I'm not sure why she does this. It's wasteful, and, like, if the guy had just given her one, like, oh, here, little girl, like, that would have made more sense to me, but she just takes it to throw it away, and it's like, why did you do this? What was the point of that moment? And we see the ball, and, yeah, these outfits. These outfits make me think of the stuff the people in the Capitol wear in the Hunger Games. Like, this is some insane outfits. Did people back then really ever wear stuff like this? There is a woman with, like, a cherry hat on her head, like a giant cherry. Louis with this powdered thing and this white wig looks ridiculous. His wig still looks better than Claudia's, so Claudia's got, like, some kind of blondish wig going on. This whole party is bizarre. All these weird masks, really strange decor and costumes. They have a scene where Louis keeps hearing whispers, something about a whisper room. I don't know what that's supposed to be. I was very confused by all this. Then he runs into this guy in a mask who keeps saying, like, slurs, but, like, in a friendly way. And then I'm like, oh, it's the business guy who they gave the ship to. I can't remember some of these characters, and when you put a mask on one, it's just another random racist dude. Louis goes out on the balcony with Lestat, and Lestat's being poetic as usual, and starts tearing up. And Louis is so obviously nervous. It's like, how does Lestat not suspect anything? So they lure a few people back to their house with the whole secret of immortality thing. And I'm honestly surprised that there's so few. And Lestat, as usual, is being all theatrical, telling them about how he obtained the secret of immortality and saying it's in this, like, platter. And I'm just like, what the frick is in there? Because you expect it's going to be something disturbing. And some of the people are acting, like, really weird, like vomiting. And, like, it makes it seem like they're drugged. And because in the movie and book, well, in the movie at least, Claudia drugs some person and then offers him to Lestat as, like, a peace offering. And that's how that they're able to kill Lestat. So it's like something like that happening, because this doesn't just seem to be, normal vomit. And everyone finally gives their ages. I don't remember the ages, but now at least we have some vague idea how much time has passed. Claudia's apparently only in her 30s. So, yeah. And it turns out what's in the platter thingy is nothing. And they just start slaughtering everyone. And again, Louis is fine with this. A dude's jaw gets ripped off. And I'm like, no one can hear all this screaming outside. I feel bad for the woman that gets killed. Another body part gets thrown on the floor. I think it's an eye. I'm not sure what is with this violence. You just need to bite the throat. You don't need to rip people's parts off. Like, this is so strange. And then they have this random dude tied up and, unconscious. And they're like, here, Lestat, this one's for you. And I'm like, is Lestat really falling for this? It's kind of obvious. And they show the front door opening and a shoe stepping into the house, and it's like, who the frick is this person? And then we cut back to Lestat with the offering, and it kind of starts to look as though maybe he actually isn't falling for it at all. And I'm kind of relieved about that because this is so on the nose. I'm trying to figure out who the frick is in the house, and they appear and they reveal that the person was drugged with something deadly. And it's a woman dressed as a man, and it takes me a while to be sure that it is Antoinette, because I cannot recognize this woman's face, ever. She's initially wearing a mask, but even when she takes it off, I can't fully recognize her. This is a problem I have with some of these characters. And it's actually pretty clever here, so apparently she does become a vampire. I still don't know if she was one in that previous scene, but she's a vampire now. And it's easy to forget, but the whole thing is that, because Lestat made Claudia and Louis, he can't hear their telepathic conversations, which doesn't make sense because he communicates telepathically with Louis before. But he can't hear the two of them communicating for some reason. But other vampires still can. So he turns Antoinette and has Antoinette follow them. That's how Lestat found out about Claudia trying to run away on the train, and how he found out about the murder plot. So the two of them attack Claudia and Louis, and Lestat is basically restraining Louis while Antoinette tries to force Claudia to feed on the dead guy. I don't know how that works. She's not gonna do that. That part was a little weird. But yeah. So Lestat starts kind of getting sick. And it turns out that Claudia, as kind of hinted at earlier, figured out that Lestat would know they were up to something, and she planned for that. She knows how Lestat is, and how even the slightest slight would set Lestat off. So she actually drugged poisoned the business dude, because apparently he slighted him when he said him in a certain way. I'm not sure what the slight is supposed to be, but that's how Claudia perceives it. So I guess that was kind of a clever way to plan ahead. And so the two of them turned the tables. I was kind of surprised that Claudia was having such a hard time fighting Antoinette in the first place, because she's technically older. Even though Claudia's younger in terms of physical form, she's not that young. She's not like little Claudia, who's a child. So, yeah. But they turn the tables. Claudia stabs Antoinette a bunch of times, and then it looks like she stomps on her a bunch of times. We don't see her after that. Suddenly they're very discreet about the gore. And Louis finishes Lestat off, sort of, by hugging him and cutting his throat. Which, does that kill a vampire? Would cutting a throat? That doesn't really strike me as a vampire-killing thing. I mean, we know it's not going to actually kill Lestat. But it's still odd. And Lestat bids Louis farewell in French. So he died as he lived, spouting random French stuff. And Claudia dips her fountain pen in Lestat's blood and writes a message, which is put me in my coffin. It's a really weird thing to write in blood. And they burn the bodies in the incinerator, which kind of makes sense, especially with the vampires, because it's if you're just assuming you killed them because you stabbed them a bunch of times, that's naive. I still feel bad for Antoinette, though, when she's burning alive in the incinerator. But then these morons don't end up burning Lestat. They just throw him out with the garbage in a container. And it's like, you know, Claudia and Louis in the movie, you could claim were naive. They didn't really know what could kill a vampire. They genuinely believed they killed Lestat. Here, like, yeah, knew he was coming back. You guys just did something super stupid. And Daniel starts kind of getting suspicious of Louis' story. Because, like, Louis talks about how he murdered Lestat, and Daniel is, like, talking about that's not murder. You just, is like, you cut him and stuff. It's like, that's still murder. Like, you cut his throat and let him bleed out. Like, even if you didn't, like, do it directly or whatever, like, even if Claudia planned it or Lestat had it coming, it's still kind of murder. And then it basically kind of leads up to the reveal that Lestat was spared intentionally by Louis, which at least makes throwing him out and not burning him make some bit of sense. Because Daniel kind of has a cool moment where he just flat out starts calling Louis out on all his nonsense. Like you didn't kill Lestat, you didn't burn him, you left him in the trash, and you knew where the trash would go. You knew it would go to the dump where there's all these rats that he could kill. Like, you were basically intending for him to survive, and, like, Louis trying to deny this. And Daniel keeps calling him out on all the inconsistencies, like, what's going on with this diary? Why did you rip out these pages? And it's like, they're not even ripped. They're cut out. And, like, Louis is clearly being affected. Rashid is angry and trying to end the interview. And it's like, why are you entering the interview? Like, what control do you have here? But, yeah, he's calling Rashid out, too. Like, Daniel's pretty smart. Like I don't even think he mentions the whole past thing. He's just like, you know, you fed on this big bouncer guy and he was barely standing afterwards, but you feed on a little twig like Rashid and he's fine. Like, he's calling out the fact that Rashid is clearly suspicious as well. And I'm still like, is Rashid going to be like Lestat or something? Because he's very protective of Louis. And Louis flees the room, and Daniel follows him, still calling him out, and we can kind of see Rashid in the background, like, not in focus, and we can see him taking his gloves off, and it's like, what's up with the hat? Like, is he about to assassinate Daniel? And there's, like, still, like, Daniel calling Louis out and telling him he's, like, therapy and whatnot. And then in the background, Rashid starts floating, and it looks super weird, a little funny. And it's basically revealed that even though Daniel doesn't remember it, Rashid was at the past interview, and he's the one who stopped Louis from killing Daniel. And Daniel turns, and Rashid is floating and has the glowy eyes, so he's clearly a vampire. But he's old enough that the sun doesn't affect him, apparently. He floats over, grabs a book, gives the book to Daniel. There's a bunch of newspaper articles inside that don't really mean anything. Like, a lot of people had been theorizing that he was Armand, so I was fully expecting, like, the book to be titled The Vampire Armand, and that would just be, like, the twist revealed right there. That is basically the twist, though, that Rashid is Armand, who is the love of Louis's life, according to Louis. But Louis has this really dopey smile on his face, and Rashid looks super threatening, so I'm not sure I believe it. Like, some people are pointing out, Louis looks like he's in a hostage situation. And, like, people have started to theorize that maybe this messed up interview might have something to do with Armand manipulating Louis's memory, or, like, a silent cry for help from Louis, which I prefer to think that's the case, because one of my big problems with this series so far has been how unlikable Lestat is. And, like, no way that's gonna work if you're trying to make him... If you go the book route of making him become the protagonist and showing that he's somewhat sympathetic. But if Rashid is up to something, well, that could turn everything on its head. So I am very curious to see how this goes. I wonder how the shippers are doing, because I'm sure there are some people that ship Armand with Louis. I don't know who they are, but I'm sure they're out there. And like I said, I'm very curious to see where this goes. I don't know much about Season 2. Apparently, it's going to be a whole year before we get it. But I wonder where they'll go. Like, will they resume the story where they left off with Claudia and Louis boarding a boat? Will we slip into Armand's story at all? Because I kind of imagine Daniel's going to have some questions. Although I guess Armand's story could kind of tie into the whole Claudia thing, because they do eventually meet Armand. But you gotta wonder what's going to happen there, because Armand is usually involved in some way in Claudia's death, and Louis is not super okay with that. But Anyway, that got really confusing. I messed up this recap something terrible, but I did the best I could. So, thank you for watching. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. And I'll catch you next time. Bye!